Come in, Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
We are live right here in Glendale. Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles, coming to you from beautiful downtown Glendale, California. The number here, if you want to be part of the program, and we hope you will, is 866-870-5752. And don't forget while you're there that this is citizen-sponsored radio, listener-sponsored radio. And what you need to do to help us along here is to go to CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Sign up there so that you'll be getting the notices. And believe me, our site and the number of people who are signing our petition is growing exponentially. We hope that you will be part of it. I've got some great stuff to share with you here tonight that will underscore just how important school choice is. It cuts across all issues here in the state of California. So we're going to talk about testing results in the United States. The news is not good. We're going to talk about some incredibly important new polls that show widespread support for school choice among all groups, all party affiliations, all ethnicities. Very exciting news. It's a poll by Real Clear Opinion Research. We'll get back to it. And just by way of illustration, later in the program here, or as we go, we're going to discuss the dire situation. Well, they think it's dire in the city of Sacramento. They're going broke with the salaries and benefits that they've ordered up for their teachers and public employees, and now they're in the downward slope. We're going to talk about Planned Parenthood's new plan working with the County of Los Angeles and the Los Angeles Unified School District to take their murder business right on campus with our high school students. There's much, much more than that. But before I get started on our program, as I was doing my research tonight, I came across a little news article which just came out today. And for anybody here in Glendale or a number of other cities, or if you're Cuban, you will know who Rosa Porto is. Porto. She was the founder of the popular Porto's Bakery and Cafe. It's been here in Glendale forever. She apparently passed away last night with her family. She was 89 years old. But Rosa Porto is so quintessentially American. She and her family cooked food and ducked, bobbed, and weaved in Cuba, finally came here to the United States, and ultimately founded their bakery here. The first one was apparently on Sunset Boulevard in Echo Park, and then later on they opened up this beautiful store right here in Glendale. It's famous right there on Brand Avenue. And we also, she has, the family since opened up new stores at West Covina, Downey, and a few other places. So to the family, we give you our condolences, and I know your mother's passing must, at the same time that it makes you sad, must make you proud. What a great American life. So in any event, it's a good opportunity to go to Porto's. Tonight, well, let's see. We already have people on the phone. Let me talk with Linda. I haven't spoken with Linda in Burbank. Linda, how are you this evening?
Oh, I'm fine. I wanted to tell you that on Thanksgiving week, I went with my sister to see our relatives in Chicago.
Yes.
And as our cousins are driving us around, downtown and everywhere, I'm looking at the gas prices, and they're in the $2 range. And the highest I saw was like $2.70 something. And that was a mobile station.
Yes.
And Illinois is a blue state.
Yes, that's right, a blue state. Yeah, out here, well, we all know what they do. And, as much as we talk about it here on Radio Free Los Angeles, as so many other venues, the kleptomania that they call state government is astonishing in its reach. And the first places they go to the property taxes, they go to fuel tax, go to state tax, or sales tax, rather. There is just no practical limit to what these people do. It is astonishing. Is what?
You're ripping us off here.
Oh, it is amazing. You take high gas prices combined with high income taxes, high property prices. At a certain point, unless this is the only place that you can get a job, or if you've got a business that makes it impossible for you to leave because it would be more costly to leave than to pay the rape, there's no good reason for being in California. And for young people especially, they're leaving and they're not coming back. Two of our sons left a long time ago, and they couldn't possibly justify coming back here unless they got one of those really, really big jobs. And even then, I'm not so sure that they want to come back and put up with it. But you're quite right, Linda. It's amazing. How were other prices? I'm sure the property prices in Illinois are a heck of a lot lower than here.
They probably are.
Yeah, I could assure you. Where were you?
I also want to add that if Los Angeles does away with, fossil fuel, and if California does that too, like I heard Jerry Brown was doing away with gas stoves in new apartments, new homes, but the nuisance governor, I heard that he wants to do away with it in the older apartments, in the older homes, and if gas is done away with if everything's all electric in apartments, homes, cars, it won't just be PG&E cutting off electricity if there's a fire.
Oh, no. No, it's everything was shut down.
Everything.
And this is the whole object of it. It's first of all to take total and complete control of everybody. And why in the world should they be allowed to do this? Well, they invented this other hoax called climate change or climate crisis or some version of this hustle. They invent that. Now it's a universal excuse to do everything. They take that finding and they go to court, and then they say, well, we're the legislature. We found that we have a climate crisis. We're not going to, or this court should not hear any evidence to the contrary. So we're going to take action to prevent this looming environmental crisis that's going to overwhelm, make the seas rise, whatever kind of malarkey they're talking about. So now they've got license to take complete and total control over energy, over property use, over your ability to operate a motor vehicle. The predatory nature of government, the intrusive nature of government is truly breathtaking and astonishing. And the real question is, how and where do we begin to push back at this? I've offered you my suggestion, which I'll talk a little bit more in context later on, and that is that we have to begin by taking our children back. Because they not only take the money that's associated with the children, they not only take the children themselves, they seize the future by brainwashing those children and ensure that we will never, ever have a rational conversation about what they're doing. And that's why we're having so much trouble. And the whole younger generation is as economically illiterate as the teachers who teach them and the public employee unions who promote all of this nonsense. and to make sure that youngsters, when they get out, have no idea where the money's coming from. They just hold their hand out. That's why they think socialism is such a good thing. Somehow there's money out there somewhere that they're going to get. Just like that goofy Pocahontas. She was Elizabeth Warren. She was confronted with the cost of her Medicare for Everyone program, or whatever you want to call her harebrained scheme. Yeah, she was confronted, with the cost of it. And she says, "Of course, there's money. There's always money." Now you got to wonder, does she really believe that? She's really obviously a very, very bright and well-educated person. Yet, is there any possibility that she believes that? I don't think so. I just think that she's willing to use this inducement to seize control of all the money and all the property and all the power. And if there's anybody out there who thinks that my statement here is extreme, I invite you to call me and tell me what limits you think this woman has, what limits you think the Democrat Party or even the Republican Party has. Bear in mind, this past week, while we were all distracted with this impeachment nonsense, Pelosi and McConnell found time to cut a deal, didn't they? And they passed a continuing resolution, or whatever the hell you want to call it, and there's more spending. Big surprise there, right? There's more spending than the year before, and they have an even bigger deficit. So what practical limits are there on our property anywhere that are acknowledged by both parties? I don't think so. Do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah, I don't want to be given fair weather Republicans the benefit of the doubt. It's absolute craziness. Well, Linda, I want to thank you for calling here and being such a faithful caller. And if for any reason I don't speak with you before Christmas, I want to wish you a very Merry Christmas. Or if you have some other faith tradition, I wish you the very best of that as well, and a Happy New Year. Okay? Thanks, Linda. Take care. All right, back here on our telephone number here, by the way. What a lovely lady. Our telephone number here is 866-870-5752. Be sure to be part of the program here. We'd love to hear from you during these holidays here if you're not out shopping and driving yourself crazy. There's a couple things here that let's go into school choice. There's a few news reports here, some very important articles that I want to get into. And one of them came out here from a website that I'm unfamiliar with. It's intellectualtakeout.org. But in any event, this article here discusses the fact that student test scores have been unchanged after decades of federal intervention in education. Now, to those of us with an IQ, that'll come as no surprise, but to hear every Republican and Democrat politician and every bureaucrat talk about this stuff, you'd think that the solution to test scores was your money. It always is. Isn't that always the solution? Well, in any event, they did a recent survey here. And the finding was that the United States here is now above the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development average in reading, but not because U.S. reading performance improved. It was that the other countries got worse. So these bureaucrats are no doubt prospering. In mathematics, however, U.S. performance has steadily declined over the past 2 decades, despite incredible increases in federal funding for all of this. even the Los Angeles Times has been New York Times was forced to report that about a fifth of American 15-year-olds scored so low on the PISA test, P-I-S-A, that it appeared that they had not mastered reading skills expected of a 10-year-old, according to Andrea Schleicher, Director of Education and Skills at the organization, some international operation here. So we have 20% of the 15-year-olds. That would be an even higher proportion in the Los Angeles Unified so-called school district. Can you imagine how high it is there? 20% across the board of 15-year-olds don't even read at a fifth grade level. That is astonishing. Worse yet, more concerning for some people, is that the gap in the performance between the highest performing students and the lowest performing students has widened. Yeah, once again, the rich get richer, the poor get poorer, the smart get smarter if you're in a good school. And I wouldn't say that the dumb get dumber, but the ignorant get more ignorant. These children are not dumb. They're not well schooled. They're not well educated. This is a hell of a problem. And as a result of all this, despite all the money flowing into it, the achievement gap in the United States is as wide today as it was in 1971. Isn't that incredible? Yeah, after 40-some years, more really, we're at the same place where we started. We've been pumping money into this forever, and of course, it was never intended really to improve education. It was intended to improve the economic status of people in government and bureaucrats. So, and another thing that is reported here that will come as no surprise to any of you, but the Common Core national standards made no difference whatsoever. They were embraced, or a version of them was embraced in Germany, and now Germany lags the United States in reading here. And it isn't just because of all those immigrant kids brought into Germany. I'm certain that's had an impact on it, but it's very bad curriculum. So, as pointed out here by Heritage, can I put it together here? The Heritage Foundation's Jonathan Butcher, and the author here point out that, one, institutionally, the administrative state is dismally inefficient and unresponsive, and therefore ill-suited to our age of endless choice and variety. Isn't that the truth? This is pointed out in the Not-So-Great Society by Yuval Levin. 2, culturally and morally, government efforts to rescue the citizen from the burdens of responsibility have undermined the family, self-reliance, and self-government. Boy, isn't that absolutely true. 3, fiscally large-scale federal programs supporting the welfare state are simply unaffordable, dependent as it is upon dubious economics and the demographic model of a bygone era. Big government doesn't work. In fact, most little government doesn't work very well. What does work is the private sector. So what we have here is a continuous state of decline in public education across the country. And here in California, we're somewhere between 41 to 48. Doesn't make any difference. We're in the bottom 20% of all states. When you consider how low that barrier is, that'll tell you just how low we are. So as a result of this, I hope it'll come as no surprise to you that support for school choice, which we talk about here so much, is starting to grow. And as you might recall here just a couple of weeks ago, Pocahontas there, Elizabeth Warren, was ambushed by a parent who questioned her about why the average parent couldn't get school choice, pick a school that they wanted to send their child to, when she, Elizabeth Warren, had sent her son to a $17,000 a year private school. Oh, yeah, she didn't like that question at all. Duck, bob, and weave. And then later on, I think a couple of days later, she said, to improve your school, you need to go down there and get involved. You know, work in the office, do this, do that. What a bunch of crap. At any rate, there's this article made reference to a Real Clear Opinion Research survey, which I'm going to describe to you here in a minute, and it describes what the support is for. So let's go. You guys are going to love this. Best research I've seen in a while here. Real Clear Opinion, which has a number of expressions there. They have Real Clear Politics, Real Clear Economics. There's a couple, three other things. That's a real strong conservative organization there. They run several websites here. So they did a Real Clear Opinion search survey of 2014 registered voters. And that survey showed the support for educational choice is strong, and the vast majority of parents would prefer to send their child to a school other than their zoned public school. In other words, some school other than the one that they're forced to attend because of their zip code. We call it zip code discrimination. All right. So here is a statement from John Schilling, president of the American Foundation of Children. Once again, a new round of nationwide public polling in 2019 confirms that school choice is incredibly popular with voters in every category, especially a federal tax credit proposal like the Education Freedom Scholarships. By the way, Trump and Betsy DeVos had a conference in Washington, I don't know if it was at the White House, but it was nearby, on that very subject of tax credits and so forth. This is a unifying message. As we've seen in states like Florida and Arizona, they will become intensely passionate about candidates who support school choice. There are many, many manifestations here, and we here at California School Choice, I promise you, are at the very cutting edge of all of this. 70% of registered voters support a federal tax credit scholarship. 68%, this is almost 7 out of 10, 68% of registered voters support the concept of school choice. 69% of registered voters prefer to send their children to a school other than their zoned public school. Now, it's got to be 169% in LAUSD, I'll tell you that much. So let's, hey, how many minutes do we have in there, Jeff? Got 2 minutes. I'll start with a little bit of it, then we'll continue a discussion of the poll, because this goes right to what we're talking about here in the state of California and why we're so hot on this issue, why it will succeed. Federal tax credit, the first question was federal tax credit scholarship, education freedom scholarships. Do you support or oppose a federal tax credit proposal in Congress where individuals and businesses could donate to nonprofit scholarship granting organizations in the states that would provide scholarships for students to attend the public, private, or career and technical schools of their choice? Among all voters, 70%. Age 18 to 24, 66%. 25 to 34, that's big child, they've got kids here by that time. Between 25 and 54, the percentage ranges between 69% and 74. Even with 65%, 65 and above, 70% have voted. Race and ethnicity, 70% of white people, 71% of black folks, 70% of Hispanic folks, 62% of Asians all support it. Hey, that music means that we're coming up on a break here. I want you to please be part of our program here at 866-870-5752. This is Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles. Back with you after the break.
Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
All right. Back with you here, Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles. Hope you'd be part of the program. Our number here is 866-870-5752. And we're going to continue our discussion here. We've got a caller, and I'll get to George in a minute here, but I really want to finish talking about this poll, because everybody asks me the most frequent question that I get from people who are about to contribute to this very important initiative is, can it pass here in California? Well, here it is. There's this poll shows. Let's go back. Do you support these tax proposals? All right, party identification, 69% of Democrats, 73% of Republicans, 68% of independents. Even among Democrat primary voters, those are the most intense of all, 71%. Urban, suburban, same 68, 73%. Yeah, you got it. How about among people with kids in school? Well, kids in public school, 75%. Kids in non-public school, 78%. All right, just incredible. Let's go to the next question that they posed out there. School choice gives parents the right to use the tax dollars designated for their child's education to send their child to the public or private school which best serves their needs. Generally speaking, would you say you support or oppose the concept of school choice? All right, clear choice, no pun intended. Support among all respondents, 68% supported. Age. It didn't make any difference. It was without reference to age. White, 68%. Black, 71%. Hispanic, 69%. Same numbers across the board. Democrat, 64%. Democrat primary voters, 64%. Republican primary voters, a little higher at 77%. Urban, suburban, no difference there. Kids in school, not in school. Very little difference. Maybe a little bit lower for people with nothing. Now, third question, school preference. If it was your decision and you could select any type of K-12 school, what type of school would you select in order to obtain the best education for your child? Public school, public district school, 34%. Well, there it is. There's that 30% that didn't support it. The other 70 don't like public schools. Private non-religious school, 21.5. Public charter school, 13.2. Private religious school, 18.5. Homeschool, 10.5. Virtual school, 6%. So out of all of these educational choices, 70% nixed the public school. This is an extraordinarily important poll, and this shows you that we're winning, ladies and gentlemen, on the issue of school choice. Americans believe in it. Anybody has any exposure to it. The only people that don't believe in it are the Communist Party and the public employee unions. So this is why you need to go to CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org and get signed up there. Believe me, their ability to control half of California's state budget and to control the minds and bodies and souls of the future of the state of California is a monopoly that they treasure. It is the secret to their success. It is the reason for our demise. Changing that will restore this country. All right, now I've got George from Los Angeles. How are you, George? Haven't spoken with you in a while.
That's right. I was just thinking about our challenges coming up, and we have many resources, and I was just really glad to hear about the population support for school choice, because it has come up, and President Trump has stated that this is something for him. And I was very interested hearing Mark Levin talking about his Landmark Legal Foundation that's been going for about 25 years, and their sole purpose is to do legal work to, uphold school choice where there's opposition. And we certainly have some coming with this teachers union. And the real issue is we got to get out there this March, because they're trying to hack down Proposition 13 by saying, oh, it's just the businesses. But who do you think the money's really going to come out of it? Everybody.
Yeah,
the local supermarkets, you've got to eat food.
George, remember though, you have to say this in a low, unctuous voice. It's for the children, right? You got to say that just right. It's for the children.
Yes, it is for the children, and the results that we've gotten so far. If there was a true correlation between the teachers' remuneration and what the children have gotten, they'd be paying us all money.
That's right. They'd owe money on this deal.
That's right, because they want more money, and guess what? The 47 doesn't move.
Nope. It doesn't happen, and we. There's something wrong. This goes back also to one of the many reasons why we find ourselves in this situation. I gave a talk here a while back, and the question was why has the Republican Party fallen into such terrible shape here in the state of California? My analysis was then and is now that their chief failing was uncritical, and I emphasize the word uncritical support of public schools and uncritical support of fire and safety. Both of these institutions consume vast amounts of public resources. We pay cops and firemen way too much. And please don't call me and tell me the firemen have risky jobs and cops have risky jobs. Lots of people have risky jobs in this world, like every guy on the front line in Afghanistan and Iraq, but we don't pay those guys $200,000 or $300,000 a year and then pay them for life. Trust me, it doesn't happen. So there's no reason to pay cops and firemen anything like that either. The teachers, they just get all this money. And why do Republicans do that? Because they think they can get elected, and they are afraid that the teachers and the cops and the firemen will come out against them in local elections or school boards, or in the general election for Assembly or Congress or State Senate, and that they'll just get trashed. Now, that they will. Now, there's an ultimate reason, of course, why Republicans do this, and that's because they have not developed a revenue model like the Democrats have that would permit them to stand up to the unions. Go ahead, George.
That's true. And their revenue model is, they do all this for the teachers, and so they suck money through the union every month, and that guy that's in charge of that overarching association of unions is also the interim state Democratic Party chairman.
Oh, tell me. Okay? That can't possibly be so, George. That would be a conflict.
No, it's not.
I'm kidding you.
No, it's not. But see, the school administrators have increased 6 years times in the last, 20 years?
Sure.
And they're all, six-figure salary.
Oh, yeah. It never stops.
And the only thing having to do with kids is that they have probably about the same exposure to paper cuts as the kids do.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, these people are out of control. Now, just to make George's point, George pays close attention to all this stuff, and I'm going to underscore what he just said, because in the middle of all of this other nonsense, poor performance, bad financial management in the school districts, runaway pension plans, and so forth, there were actually a couple of proposals being floated by a couple of school-related organizations. And the first one was being floated by the California School Boards Association. And it now says that it's going to wait until 2022. This was an editorial in the Orange County Register just from today. It's going to wait until 2022 to put its, all right, everybody, barf alert, trigger warning, quote, full and fair funding, unquote, measure before voters. The initiative, stand by, the initiative would increase the tax rate on personal income over $1 million from 13.3% to 15.3%, and on income over $2 million to 16.3%.
Oh, my goodness.
For corporate income over $1 million, the tax rate would jump from 8.84 to 13.84. Right. Now, that's one the CBSA, California School Boards Association, said this would raise $15 billion a year for K-12 schools, right? Sound of organ music, everybody genuflect, right? Okay.
Oh, no.
Here, let me continue.
And then you pop up a daisy out of their chest.
Yeah, that's right.
Turn over on their back and, put the dirt on them and then let the daisies pop up.
That's right. Now, you might ask, what caused these crooks not to put it on the ballot for 2022? Well, the problem was there's another group of thieves out there called the other initiative sponsored by public employee unions, community and social justice groups, the League of Women and Voters, right, and they let them run debates. And the California State PTA would make a radical change to Proposition 13, requiring county assessors to reassess nearly all business properties to their fair market value every 3 years instead of only when there's a change of ownership. Right?
Oh my God! Yeah, and that is again that is this incrementalism of the socialist Saul Alinskyite, essentially Marxist type garbage, and Gavin Newsom is the head of that. And if anybody wonders about it, remember we voted our initiative about rent control. What
Yes.
did Gavin Newsom do? He ran something through the legislature, and now rent control is striking, and everyone's freaking out.
That's right.
Oh, he has such moral compunctions. He won't carry out the death penalty.
Yeah.
He's turning all the crooks loose to come back and recidivate on the population.
Right. Raising costs
And then
across the board.
We have collectivism now.
Hey, George,
because
hang
of
on.
Granny flats.
Hey, George, let me finish this story because it's really important here. So we were talking about what they were trying to force, another modification of Prop 13, and that would generate an estimated $12 billion in revenue, which its proponents calls schools and communities first, BARF, would be divided between schools and local governments, right?
Oh, no.
Unlike the full and fair funding initiative, which would direct funds only to education. So the latest scam is let's all the public employee unions get behind it, but the SEIU won't get behind it if there's no money in it for them, right? So they say, let's all get together and divide the spoils. Well, the guys who are running the schools only deal, the executive director, thief in chief here, Vernon Billy, said after conducting a significant amount of polling and analysis, we have determined that having two measures on the same ballot that at least in part provide funding for public schools risked a scenario where our measure would come up short. Yeah, do you think? Oh, yeah. So at any rate, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen.
To roll the dice or cut cards or something to find out who went first.
Yeah. Well, what they're going to do is get together and knock some heads, and that's how those people tune in and cut themselves into the graft. Hey,
yeah, we have to really look at this socialist action and how Gavin Newsom is conducting himself. Just in the same way that Stalin and Lenin did at the beginning of, the Bolshevik, revolution and everything. And the big thing is PG&E. They have been completely bankrupted by all of these things coming from the fires in the forest.
Yeah.
Well, Gavin Newsom believes, there might be some species under the dead trees, so we should let them alone.
Sure.
Well, there's heading on towards 200 million dead trees in the detritus on the forest floor. Great place for fires.
That's right.
But these environmentalists won't let PG&E do like other states.
That's right.
And have a 75-foot clear cut on each side of their wires.
That's right.
So
George, you have to. George, I got to jump.
What? The state is going to take over PG&E for pennies on the dollar.
Yep.
And it will own and then control the means of producing electricity.
Right.
And they'll say, no fossil fuel.
Right.
No more smoky wood pellets.
Right. And we'll have the same number of fires. We'll have less power. It's like same thing happens anytime government takes over. But the point that I wanted to wrap up on the two stories that I read you there, or excuse me, about that is that this shows you how the largest tax increases are ushered through along with everything else. They hide behind children. If we take back our children, take back our money, the political leverage for these tax increases will evaporate. Do you honestly think they're going to raise taxes if that means a 10, 20, or 30% increase in the revenue going to private schools as well? Hell no, it won't happen.
Oh no, they
George,
won't. They'd be afraid of that and saying, these schools are thieving from us. But
George, I got to run, my friend. If I don't talk to you before,
one thing that's very interesting. Did you hear what happened in Florida with Governor Ron DeSantis
and school choice?
Well, it wasn't school choice. Yeah. It was just a simple curriculum change. As it turns out,
on
they
civics.
tested kids, and only 70% of them couldn't say who Mao Zedong or Stalin was.
Right.
And then the 30% of them about Mao Zedong, they thought he had something to do with Tiananmen Square.
Yep, that's right.
So he said, no, there's problems with history and civics. And so he dove in and completely changed the standards for curriculum for the whole state.
Absolutely.
So at least there's some clear-thinking people in government.
That's right.
But unfortunately,
take our kids back. George, I got to run here. If I don't talk to you before Christmas, please have a Merry Christmas or whatever faith tradition you observe. We're with you there, and have a wonderful, happy New Year. All right. Next up is Jim from Hermosa Beach. How are you this evening, Jim?
Yeah, I'm fine there. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Good. I was going to say that, actor Richard Dreyfuss, while he's not somebody you'd think of as being a staunch Republican, he's very, very angry at the curriculum changes, and I agree, that occurred over the years on civics, cursive writing, and so many other things. And he's got an organization that he set up, and he's right about it. So this is not, I always invoke someone like him as to say, look, this is not about liberal, conservative, left, right, Democrat, Republican. If that were the case, then why was it back when Jack Cruther, who was the superintendent of schools back like in the 60s, we had a great curriculum back then, and why were these things taken out? And so, but people need to look. It's the same thing with this. Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was governor, and that's one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons I have no respect for him, and I really don't care what movies he does because not that I'm much of a fan of him as an actor. I wouldn't go see his films. But when he was governor, he and Mr. Maldonado, Abel Maldonado, got together and they decided to, change the California Constitution around. So they made some changes that took out so that even the Green Party and third parties couldn't even compete on the ballot, and they made it so that it would be a one-party system. That was in 2010. He did that. And, this is Arnold I'm talking about, And so he was doing, so when he was governor, he was making deals with my friend Fabio Nunez, and he also, in 2006 collaborated with, Antonio, our former mayor, to jack up the price for the cable bills. They got money from the cable company. So there you have Schwarzenegger, who's a Republican, and he's as guilty as the Democrats.
Well, they are. They are.
Yeah, it's sad.
I've got about 2 minutes left here in this segment. But you've heard. I know that you listened to the show. I think this is the second time you called, maybe third. And my question is whether you agree with me that the Republicans and the Democrats, both political parties, bear considerable joint responsibility for our situation. And I ask further whether you agree with me that our first priority should be school choice. Take back 40% of the tax revenues in California. Take back our children. Take back to the future. Do you agree that that should be our top priority here in California?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I do. And one last thing I'll say, that's why I call them Demoublicans and Republicrats, and that's sad.
That's right. And if I had to guess, I'd say basically you probably vote as a Republican, but with no great enthusiasm.
You know what I do? I vote. I'm a registered independent.
Yeah.
And I'll leave you on this thing. John Kennedy, when he was president, supported the idea of school choice. He favored giving parents tax credit, if they wanted to send their kids to private school or public school. Okay. Called the National Defense Act. It was nothing to do with defense. He just came up with that idea because that was our first defense, was education. And so he believed in that, and so did Robert. Now, Ted Kennedy was a different story, but Robert Kennedy and his brother believed that people should be given tax incentives to for sending their kids to the best school because they should get the best education.
Exactly.
And when Kennedy and one last thing, when he gave an interview in 1962, he said, "What we want to do in the coming years is produce a good supply, a good economic pool supply of skilled workers." See, that's where he was thinking. See, and cut taxes. And so the current Democratic Party does not have respect for people like Kennedy or Adlai Stevenson or Hubert Humphrey or past Democrats who even Tip O'Neill would have gone to the mat with these morons that run that party today.
Oh yeah, you would think. And I read the poll to you earlier, and school choice is testing well across the board. Cuts across party lines, cuts across ethnic lines, religious lines, you name it. It's the pathway to the future. Jim, I will also wish you a very Merry Christmas or whatever faith tradition that you observe, and a Happy New Year, and I look forward to talking with you in the future. This is Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles, back with you after the break, and don't forget, at the end of the next half hour, we will have our favorite feature, Government Grifter of the Week. Back with you in a minute.
Southern California. This is Radio Free Los Angeles. Do you copy? Repeat, do you copy?
Now transmitting from behind the Iron Curtain in the People's Republic of California, we bring you the voice of free men, free markets, and limited constitutional government. Welcome to citizen-sponsored Radio Free Los Angeles with President of the California Taxpayers Union, Mike Alexander, and editor of the Taxpayer Gazette, Jonathan Wilson.
And we are live. This is Mike Alexander, Radio Free Los Angeles. Our telephone number here, if you'd like to be part of the show, is 866-870-5752. We've had a lot of great callers tonight. Love to talk with you. And our focus here this evening has been the nexus between taxation, big government, and public so-called schools, government schools, and the monopoly that they enforce so rigidly here in the state of California. We need to end that. And to do that, you need to become part of the movement for our version of school choice, which is compelling. To hear about that and read about in detail, you go to californiaschoolchoice.org. Sign up there to get the notices. Better yet, contribute there, whether it's $5 a month, $50 a month, or $5,000 single contribution. Whatever you put there will help us to restore freedom, and most importantly, to give the children a real chance, a real shot at becoming part of our society. For the immigrant children, they'll have a full opportunity to assimilate in our society and learn the skills that they need to become productive citizens here rather than a permanent member of the welfare class. This is unacceptable. Just because one party wants to create a permanent voting bloc in this country is no excuse for condemning these children to mediocrity. Our program, our version of school choice is simple. In 2022, November, when the Educational Freedom Act is passed, the state will create an educational savings account for every K through 12 student in the state of California. Number two, into that account will be deposited the average per pupil spending in California under Prop 98. That number is somewhere between $10,000 and $12,000. It'll be higher by 2022, I guarantee you. Number three, the parents, not the government, not the in-laws, not the courts, not the bureaucrats, not Adam Schiff or Nasty Pelosi. The parents will determine where their children go to school. They could use that scholarship money to go to a public school. You just take it over there to your public school, a charter school, a private school, and yes, trigger warning out there, libs, a parochial school. And number four, and this is the big deal. Any money you have left over, you could save and use for college or vocational training or other qualified educational expenses. Now, how good is that? It's simple. It's American. It applies to everybody equally and gives everybody a shot at achievement according to their ability. Not everybody is going to be a Harvard student, but not everybody has to be dismally ignorant and be 18 years old or 15 years old and read at fifth grade level. That's insane. That's just what we learned here earlier in the program. Now, the best way to do that is to support our initiative, because I can tell you right now, the state legislature, even particularly under Democrats, but even with Republicans, we're never going to get school choice unless we, the people, we, the families, we, the parents and the grandparents, we go out there and make this happen for the next generation of students. That's going to take away this incredible political leverage that these people get by running around all the time and claiming that every new multi-billion-dollar tax increase is not for them, it's for the children. Yeah, they just don't say whose kids. It's theirs, not ours, or the kids that are forced to attend their goofy so-called schools. Now, at the same time that these people are asking you for more money for education, what are they doing? Well, there was an article here. You've seen it all over the web here the last few days, but apparently, even though they're running massive deficits, and the Los Angeles Unified School District is at the absolute bottom of the pit, trying to avoid being taken over by the state or the county or somebody here in the state, somehow they found $10 million that would allow Planned Parenthood to come into Los Angeles high schools. Now, they say it won't be for abortion. Oh, no. Here's what they say. Quote, Planned Parenthood is pioneering a new model of reproductive health services for Los Angeles County in 50 clinics in an area high school, MSN reported. The program announced Wednesday and launched in the school district by the school district and the county health department is believed to be the most ambitious yet in these types of services. I got cutoffs here. I'm not reading it right. To so-called at-risk students in public schools. How come they're at risk? Answer, they're in a public school and nobody's teaching them anything different, and they could get pregnant like any other teenage female past puberty. This is absolute insanity. They could take our money and fund abortion, and I don't care what they say. That's what it goes for. They're gonna train little Nazi informers here. They're apparently they're going to train some of these kids to go out there and to become so-called peer advocates to help provide information about safe sex, etc. Absolute nonsense. That's what they do. These people can't be trusted with your Constitution. They can't be trusted with your money. And above all, ladies and gentlemen, they cannot be trusted with the children, especially when that means, bottom line, they cannot be entrusted with the future of the United States of America. You can't trust them with our national defense. You can't trust them with the military. You can't trust them with the impeachment power. Their bad behavior extends across the board, and it isn't just at the federal level. At the same time that we're going to this joke, through this joke and this charade called impeachment, in Washington, D.C., out here, they are raping the state with more taxes, more regulation, and yet more social engineering in the schools. We must stop that. And what we're faced here in the immediate future is absolutely frightening. Now, once again, getting back to these schools. All right, with all the money that these people go out and get, you'd think that they would be able to operate the schools. You would think that they would at least be able to add or pay attention to simple arithmetic and simple English when communicated to them. But you would be wrong. Let's talk about our Sacramento school district up there in our state capital. All right, so these people, despite their deteriorating financial position, most of it generated by pensions and other post-employment benefits called health coverage and so forth, these people have been warned for several years by the county of Sacramento, no less. Even the other bureaucrats can see what's going on. Said, hey, look, you guys are bleeding cash. You're going to have to make some changes. But no, they don't make the changes. And as this article says here, which was cited in the the CaliforniaGlobe.com, the primary cause and effect is that the teachers' union maintains complete control of the budget. Sacramento Unified has not proactively addressed its financial problems and is close to insolvency. It projects facing a $19.1 million shortfall in fiscal 21-22. So by the time they get to the middle of next year, they're going to be broke. So what is it that that they should do? Well, the auditor prepared a report up there, and the auditor stated the Sacramento City Unified School District serves about 41,000 and employs 2,200 teachers. Since fiscal year 2016-17, its expenditures have exceeded its ongoing revenue by $9 million to $25.9 million each year. This is a bad habit with them. This is what they do because they're going to go to the suckers in the neighborhood, and all they'll have to say is, it's for the children. And then everybody, ka-chink, they pull the handle, and now the taxpayers are down another several $100 million. Meanwhile, the kids don't read better, they don't learn more, they don't do anything. The only people that make out on this deal are the teachers and the employees of the school district. During this same time period, the school district has increased spending in three main areas. Okay, no surprises here, right? Teacher salaries, employee benefits, and special education without taking sufficient action to control these costs. The special ed has been a new area here where they really been growing budget. Everybody's a special ed deal now. When you read the audit, you think to yourself, this wouldn't fly in my homeowners association. And they're quoting Robert Fellner, who runs Transparent California. By the way, I don't often enough recognize Transparent California. Go to them. You want information on salaries and benefits? Go to transparentcalifornia.com. Bob Fellner runs it. He's a great guy. These guys do fantastic work for all taxpayers associations and people who do what we do here on this show. There was a proposal to as Bob Fellner points out, this Sacramento district is a major school district. Everyone was aware of the problems. In the Sacramento County Office of Education warned the district repeatedly, yet they did nothing. And bottom line was, everyone was deferring to the teachers union. The Sacramento superintendent said he didn't want to have to deal with the teachers union strike. So they just let it be and dump the revenue problem on the desk of the school board and of the taxpayers. And I think they're starting layoffs up there. So it's an absolute joke. They had pushed for these increases. Another quotation from the auditor. This labor agreement, that they're discussing to pay 15% pay raises could ultimately cost Sacramento Unified about $31 million per year in additional costs, an increase of 5% in the district's total spending in 2019-20. At the time of the labor negotiations, the teachers union believed that the district's fund balance was steadily increasing and that teacher salaries were relatively low. They're not, believe me. However, neither of these beliefs was entirely accurate. Although Sacramento Unified did have lower average teacher salaries than comparable school districts before the 2017 agreement, it consistently maintained the highest average total compensation for teachers because it offered more generous and expensive health care benefits. You see, they always say, well, we're lower than the next guy, but when you put together the total compensation, it's never the case. Further, at the time of the labor negotiations, Sacramento Unified had received one-time funds from the legislature. So in other words, whatever they got the last time, that's a new base, and they all want to bounce up from there. And until we pass school choice, until we pass pension reform, we're going to continue to get this. And trust me, all of these huge tax increases that they're discussing out there, the California School Boards Association and so forth, this is designed to pay teachers more money and to solve the pension crisis, when in fact what we have to do is just say enough of it. And you know, Sacramento, the best thing it could do would be to shut down the whole school system, split up the money, give it to parents, let them go find a school to go to. And if anybody thinks they can run one of those public schools without a bunch of increases, well, give them a shot at it. As we say, under our proposal, you can take that money, you can take it to your current public school. As we like to say, if you like your public school, you can keep your public school. You could take the money to a charter school. You could take it to a private school, it's accredited, or to an accredited parochial school. It just makes too much sense. Problem? Problem is it takes politicians out of control, puts parents in control, and changes the political dynamic here in the state of California in ways that you can't possibly imagine. But I hope after listening to the show you do. Well, it's 20 after. If there's somebody who wants to call, I can take you for a couple of minutes. Other than that, here in a few minutes, we're going to go on to our old friend Juan Tierra, who's got a special edition here of Government Grifter of the Week award. I think that you'll like it. And we have, of course, our latest out-of-control crisis competing with all the others is the so-called homeless crisis. And when you see the kind of money that they're talking about to build these residences or low-cost, or whatever the hell they're calling this stuff, is absolutely outrageous. There's no reason for anybody to be homeless. And, of course, what they do is they say, well, we got to go out here, we got to do it the government way and spend $700,000 per unit. Well, here in the city of Los Angeles, they spend $1 billion, got a $1 billion budget going on for so-called homeless. And, it's the latest pork barrel project, believe me. It's absolutely outrageous, and they're not going to get the job done. And all of that is on track to produce the next California tax revolt. If you have a chance, you can go to the Daily Breeze, which is, I think, a South Bay paper, and catch up on an article by John Kupal, the president of the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association. All of these people are absolutely on fire to create a two-tier tax roll, which will permit them to treat commercial property as differently than residential property. All properties treated the same, currently under Proposition 13. They're anxious to uncap that to get all that revenue and then start reassessing that property every couple of years. Our state is out of control. John Kupal feels as I do that we're ripe for a revolution. I think that revolution should begin with taking our kids back so that we can gradually educate them about the future here. So I recommend John Kupal's editorial to you because he points out that half of all California taxpayers and half of the businesses have seriously considered leaving the state. And if you haven't considered leaving the state, I'd love you to call us here sometime. In any event, it's that special time of the week. Music, Maestro, please. All right, it's a special time of the week. We have our friend John Tierra on with his nominations here for the Government Grifter of the Week Award. How are you this evening, Juan?
Hi, Mike. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. I hope you enjoyed the show this evening.
I sure did. It was good.
Excellent. Good. So, what do you have for us here this evening, John?
Well, tonight we're going to do a little word detective, first of all.
Okay.
The term grifter is an American invention, actually, dating from the early 20th century, but appears to be based on a slightly older slang term, grafter, meaning swindler, con man, or corrupt politician.
True. Okay.
Now, often before we've focused on politicians who've taken the money from people seeking public access, contracts, or favorable zoning decisions.
Mm-hmm.
What about the people who supply the cash to these aspiring politicians?
Yes.
For purposes of tonight's award, we'll call them griftees.
Okay.
Tonight's nominees, or griftees, are all from the city of San Diego, which in 2014 became embroiled in a major financial scandal stemming from the 2012 mayoral election. Over $600,000 was funneled to 2 attempt candidates with a goal of obtaining support for Miami West, proposed large waterfront development, which would include a marina, a 5-star hotel, and luxury condos.
Wow.
Our sources tonight, San Diego Tribune, U.S. Department of Justice, and the Voice of San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Nominee griftee number 1, wealthy businessman Jose Azano Matsura, a Mexican national and the individual who put up the $600,000 and was eventually charged with conspiracy, donation by a foreign national over $25,000, contribution in the name of another of $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
Potential maximum sentence, 15 years in prison and a $750,000 fine. Convicted in 2017, sentenced to 3 years in prison and fined $560,000.
Oh, man. Well, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Here's his 2 buddies on this scam. Nominee griftee number 2, Ravi Singh. Sikh, obviously.
Yeah.
Political consultant and CEO of a national firm, Election Mail Technologies. A company which offered technology products to political campaigns. Think wire fraud.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Singh conveyed money through shell companies and third-party straw donors to 2 San Diego mayoral candidates and was charged with 4 felony counts. Maximum sentence could have been 10 years in prison, $500,000 fine.
Mm-hmm.
Convicted in 2017, he was fined $10,000 and sent to prison for 15 months.
Okay, so the first guy put up the money, and the second guy facilitated it through phony donors. Okay.
Right. Yeah, now, the third guy, he got off kind of light, but I think he probably flipped.
Yeah.
Nominee griftee number 3, Marco Polo Cortez.
I love it. Marco Polo.
City Hall in San Diego City Hall and Center lobbyist. They busted him down to 3 misdemeanors.
Mm-hmm.
Conspiracy to finance campaigns from a foreign source.
Yeah.
Making a campaign in a different name of another, and obstruction of justice. Pled guilty and got a massive 4 months.
Oh, he was the rat.
Well, yeah, I think he probably was charged with felonies, and he flipped, and then they pled him down to misdemeanors.
Okay, so he's particularly scummy, even though the numbers and the sentence isn't that big. All right.
He might have had some local protection, too. Who knows?
Okay, there. Now, those are the 3. All right. Drum roll, please.
Here we go.
All right. And the winner of the Government Griftee of the Week Award is...
Nominee number 1, no contest, Jose Azano Matsura, who spent $600,000 on bribes, wound up paying back $560,000 in fines, is currently in prison, and even though one of the candidates he bankrolled won, he didn't get his project approved after all.
That's a loser. Can you imagine the conversations in jail? Oh, jeez. All I can say is hope there wasn't any cartel money involved.
Well,
oh, man, there's going to be a price to be paid. Well, ladies and gentlemen, you know this stuff. We laugh at it, we mock it, we scorn it. It is all too real. And when we turn over this kind of power to the government, to a few people to make these decisions, then we invite this kind of corruption. Granting that power to the government to start with is morally corrupt, I submit. We take these choices out of the hands of private property owners, and we create these massive projects as if they were inherently superior. And there's no bigger pork barrel operation, no greater scandal than the $80 billion a year that we turn over in the state of California to the teachers' unions and to the public employee unions in the name of education. You've got to go to CaliforniaSchoolChoice.org. Help us to start the revolution there. Juan, I want to thank you here for being with us all year. I know I will see you soon, but on the air, I'd like to publicly thank you, as well as Jeff, who's the best board man around, Brooke, our call screener, Basil Hoffman, our announcer who does the records the promo for us, Jonathan Wilson, Josh Jacobs, and everybody here at KRLA. In case I don't talk to you before the end of the year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever your faith tradition is, and especially a Happy New Year. Radio Free Los Angeles, over and out.